Why don't you come right side?
Right side?
Then you go this side. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your accepting my invitation. This is so crowded today. I have to ask DSS whether this is a safer place now. I thought that we had a little less than this number, but there must be somebody who is not invited. So I have to check because this Babo and Yeocheol are so popular. I think there must be somebody who just came without being invited. But you are welcome. You are welcome. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure, but I am personally feeling very sad that I'm letting these two very valuable colleagues leave. I'd like to particularly welcome the family members of Bob Oh. I have Audrey Choi, spouse, and beautiful children, Isabel and Mark, all young children. We have a very important guest again. He is a mother-in-law, Mrs. Yeocheol Choi, and the parents, Mr. Jago and Mrs. Bonnie Oh. Thank you for your taking time. I asked Mr. Yoon's family to come, but you know that his wife and children have been moving from here and they're packing. So unfortunately, they are not able to be here, but I will warm you guys to them. This is the first time, as I remember, that I'm having this kind of a farewell reception for two senior colleagues at one time. I hope it will not create any stampede. I'm especially sad that Bob and Yeocheol, they are leaving. In fact, they have been one of my closest aides and friends, senior advisors. I feel as if I'm losing my right hand arm, left arm. I have to attend all this conference on the people's right with the disabilities. In fact, they have been at the center of my team for almost 10 years. Now, I have been here for 8 years, but for Babo, he has been here for 10 years, and he has been with me since the beginning, since the transition. Then it's 8 years now. Then he worked in my team. When I was serving as a chef de cabinet to the president PGA in 2001, he was in my team. Then long before that, we worked together in the Korean embassy. So you can count, how many years we've been working. And with Bob Oh, he started as when I was in transition here as an elected Secretary General. I was having a small office. Then Secretary General Kofi Annan designated him as a liaison between him and myself, so that I could have a safe landing. So I did have a safe landing without breaking any bone, at that time. I really thank you much for all that. Now, here in the executive office, they complemented each other as a very good team, even though the way the work they have been doing are different, but they were a very good team in EOSG. Mr. Oh was the master of partnership, and he was the master of protocol. Now, I'm going to stop using their given names. So you just guess who is what, who is who. One kept his eye on a green planet, and the other on the red carpet all the times. One told me where I should stand on the issues, and the other told me where I should sit on the dais on the podium. One told me that this world was getting hotter and hotter. Then the other told me, in such hot weather, you should wear this and that kind of cloth. I really thank you for all your advices. One brought many people to the United Nations tent, and one made sure that everybody has a speaking, their names were listed on a speaker's list. I think you get the idea, what kind of a role they have been playing each other as a one team. You might think of them as yin and yang at the 38th floor. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Babo has made many key contributions over the course of his 10 years at the United Nations. He was integral to the formulation of UN Global Counterterrorism Strategy, and he was deeply involved in the establishment of a Human Rights Council and Peacebuilding Commission, and in the aspect of 2005 World Summit outcome document. He was also the initiator of Every Woman, Every Child and Sustainable Energy for All, which have been as most successful, these partnerships models, and in addressing global challenges. He and I have been to so many women's health centers and maternity wards together. You would think that we might have a baby together. And of course, most recently, he has been leading the charge on the climate change. Thanks to him, I have been to the hottest and the coldest places on this planet Earth. And I thank you very much. Thank you. You might not have seen him in among 300,000 crowd in 6th Avenue, UN avenues. But if it had not been for him, this whole New York Avenue might have been empty on that day. And I thank you for your mobilizing so many people on that day. Just last month in Samoa, I was crowned Prince Tupua. Please call me His Highness now. I'm Prince now. Bob was so impressed by the Samoan warriors. He really wanted all these muscles. He wanted to bring all these Samoan warriors to use their muscles to climate change deal done in the meeting. Through all of this, Bob has always been cheerful and dynamic. He has also been so youthful that I'm wondering whether there is more to that Sustainable Energy for All initiative than he's letting on. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yoon has held two very demanding jobs in my office. One was special assistant. He was managing all this scheduling, conflicting schedules. He has been resolving all this. Then, of course, he has been most recently chief of protocol. All these two jobs were to make everything sure so that I would not make any mistake. Nothing during last 10 years, nothing went wrong. And I really thank for his meticulous way of doing. We have had many talented interpreters in the United Nations, but Mr. Yoon had a special skill, not in translating language, but in translating popular culture of many countries. Mr. Yoon knows movies and music better than anybody else in this office. He knows, in fact, so much music and art, movies, then he knows a government minister's name. When the speechwriters added a reference to Jimi Hendrix in my speech, he was already playing me Purple Haze. Yeah? Just before a trip to Hollywood to meet with Disney, he explained the Tweety bird to me. You know this Tweety bird? I thought this was an endangered species. When I went to Jamaica, Mr. Yoon said, I should do two things. Listen to Bob Marley and change my name to Ban Ki-moon. Colleagues, Babo and Yeocheol are going out on a high note. Over the past week, I had a record number of bilateral meetings, side events, speeches, etc., etc., and everything unfolded smoothly. And of course, the climate summit was a great success that we hope will generate the climate action the world so desperately needs. And I thank their excellencies, ambassadors, for their strong support and commitment. Let me thank both for the outstanding work they did for the United Nations and for their devotion to me personally as colleague and friends and advisors. I know I speak for everyone here in wishing them well in the next chapters of their lives. Babo will still be part of my team as a special advisor on climate change. So he's having a long reach to give me advice. And as for Mr. Yoon, he's going back to Korea, but I'm sure that he will be still crossing paths, particularly when during the General Assembly when he comes with his country's head of state. Both of them will always be part of the UN family. Ladies and gentlemen, please prepare your glasses. Let us now raise a glass to toast to our wonderful colleagues. And cheers, and I wish you all of them continued good success and good health. And cheers. Cheers. Thank you. Maybe they may have to say something. I'd like to invite Barbara and Yeocheol. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General and Yeocheol, for sharing this day today. I couldn't be happier that we get to do this together. If you have to leave, you've got to go out with someone you really respect, so thank you. I was cleaning out my desk this week, sir. I finally got to, after the summit and after the big week, and I found a drawer that I hadn't opened in 10 years. It was like a time capsule. And on top of it was a commemorative brochure from the very first day I came to the UN. It was the one-year anniversary of the Baghdad bombing. And it had names of friends and colleagues who we lost. And I looked at the ages, and the average age of the colleagues we lost in Baghdad was 40 years old. And when I came to the UN, I was 40 years old. And it made me think the last decade has been a gift. A gift to be able to serve this organization, a gift to be able to work with all these incredible people to try to address the problems in this world. It has been an incredible opportunity for 10 years to serve two very distinguished Secretaries General. And I will tell you, sir, I have learned more about what leadership is by working with you and being able to observe up close what you do, not just in the bright moments of big lights and the stage, but what you do behind to lead by example. It's not just a phrase for you, it really is the essence of your being. I also want to just say a word to all my colleagues, both in the diplomatic corps and fellow staff members. There's nothing more wonderful in this life than to be able to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And this organization allows you every day to be part of something bigger than yourself. And I will tell you, I have been motivated every day I have been here, by all of you around me I was interviewed yesterday about my 10 years at the UN, and I was asked, what will you miss most? And it was so easy. It's the people. You are the United Nations. And looking at you, you not only look like the United Nations, you are the United Nations. And I will tell you, it has been a privilege and an honor to learn not only from the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, the Chef de Cabinet, and the senior leadership, and the many distinguished ambassadors here, but from each and every one of the staff members here. I thank you. Finally, I just want to say a word of appreciation to my family, that they're here today. My wife, Audrey, my daughter, Isabel, and my son, Mark, for all those times that I wasn't here and you forgave me for being on travel. And once you said, it's okay, you're going to save the world. Well, not every day were we saving the world, but we sure were trying. Thank you so much to my parents and my mother-in-law for coming today. I'm deeply touched that you did this, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, not only for me, but also for Bob. It is very rare that the chief of protocol is given the floor, not running around the floor. So it is a very high honor for me to be speaking to all of you. And I think I would share a little bit of my thoughts about the uncertainty of life and blessings from that uncertainty. We have no idea what tomorrow would bring, and that causes some people anxious and concerned. But it also makes us thrilled to start a new day and to meet new people. And I think I've been very fortunate to have met so many new people. My wife's not here, but I would have started with her and the Secretary General and all of you guys. If I may, I would like to talk about my first encounter with the Secretary General. When I passed the Foreign Service exam in 1984, my professor, who was an occasional English instructor for the Korean diplomats, told me to look for Mr. Ban Ki-moon because he was the best Korean diplomat he ever saw, not only for his excellent English, but also for his competence, maturity, and integrity. So on one day in 1985, I got the chance. I went upstairs from my office to the office of Prime Minister, where he was chief of protocol, to the Prime Minister. And then I showed a draft seating chart. I think that was Argentinian Foreign Minister Dante Mario Caputo. And he had a look at the seating chart and smiled and called my director. I have a very handsome young man here. Very nice work indeed, but I have a few comments. So I realized that he didn't even trust me to convey his simple instructions. But I was so happy to see the legend in person. And thank God, the encounter between us repeated again and again. As he already described, I spent 3 years in Washington, D.C. With him, and we got back together for the PJ office with Dr. Han Sung-soo, and we had an extraordinary experience of 56th session of General Assembly, including 9/11. And then I served as one of his directors at the Foreign Ministry when he was Foreign Minister. And I was posted here again at the Korean mission. And I began to hear something from Korea. There was some big shot, some tycoon who wanted to become a UN Secretary General and to become President of Korea or something. But there was something wrong along the way, and there was his downfall. And then that chain of events put Mr. Ban as accidental candidate of Korea for the Secretary General. So those accidents, I think, looking back, was a sign of destiny So when he was elected, he again invited me to join the team here at the UN Secretariat. So I think somehow our themes overlap. I mean, what Bob just described. I also was so glad to have received two different gifts. One is to have worked with all of you here, and the other is to have assisted our leader so close by. And as Bob described, he's the man who really leads by example without even making conscious efforts, because it's in his thoughts and in his blood. So now, as I get older, there are many nice, sayings and maxims like honesty is the best policy and do good to the others, as you want to be treated, something like that. He's practicing all of them without thinking. So I think that's such a big gift for me to learn all of this from him directly. And also, when I joined the United Nations, I think I had been already for 22 years a Korean diplomat. But at that time, I thought I knew the international world. But when I joined the Secretariat and worked with all of you, I saw the world. As Bob said, this is the United Nations. This was the world. So I felt so much blessed about it. And on a different note, I thought by spending so much time here at the Secretariat, I thought I was making some sacrifices, letting go of some career opportunities at the Foreign Service. But I also heard some noises from my friends back in Korea about their myth about luxurious life in New York and nice package at the United Nations. I was so disappointed, betrayed and disturbed by their wrong concept. But as I started packing these days, I realized that they were right. They may well be jealous because I had all the friendship and loyalty and support of you guys, and I had the greatest mentor one could imagine close by. What an honor! What a privilege! So. Maybe I'm being too long. I'm not used to this as chief of protocol. But thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General, for your personal care and leadership and example. And thank you, guys. Thank you for your friendship, loyalty, and support. And thank you, Your Excellencies, for your kind understanding about any shortcomings of protocol service. But we are always at the service of member states. Thank you very much.
Well done. That's what happens when the chief of protocol gets. Thank you.
Let the music begin.